Hey, what is up? It's Control. Today's video is going to be on Ezreal Karma. If you guys aren't interested into the 15-minute intro where we talk about the deck, why I think it's broken, and everything about it, feel free to check the description for a link to the start of the gameplay and the code/mobalytics link. This one's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to talk about this deck a little bit in depth because it's one that I really don't like, and the entire reason I'm making this video is specifically because I don't like it. I found that I was complaining a little bit too much about Ezreal Karma, so I thought what I would do is kind of just break it down, go over the deck for my first time in a couple games. Played like went 4-0. Pretty straightforward, and explain my thought process as well. I'm playing it to show that while it's not easy, it's not the hardest deck in the world to just pick up and play. I will say in games, I believe 2 and 3, my mic got a little bit scuffed because I kind of had it over here and I was sometimes talking over here in a little bit of a soft voice, so I apologize for that because got a new mic. I'm still figuring out how to use it properly and I kind of messed up. It sounded like I was mumbling a little bit. I didn't really realize that. Anyways, into the video. So anyways, microphone's positioned correctly, so we're good to go. So, Ezreal Karma, we can look at the list that we played. This is one from Glop, actually a guy from the lower mainland as well, that was pretty close to me. We got rank 1 masters with this list, and it's the one that we play. So, number 1, Ezreal Karma. The first problem I see with it is it has no real counter. There's no real cards that you can tech against it. It's just very, very powerful. The best way to kind of beat this deck is to just go wide on board and try to kill them early. And well, believe it or not, there's no real flood aggro that's very, very good right now. Your best answer, I believe, is like they who endure, probably, but that's about it. And it's not even that great of an answer because, the deck just got nerfed. They who endure going to 7 is actually very significant as far as, being able to do the they who endure plus atrocity in 1 round. So I would say that, it doesn't really have very solid counters. This is a deck that kind of just auto wins basically every matchup post turn 10, as long as you've drawn Ezreal. You don't even need the Karma in a lot of cases. So I think that's a huge problem that aggressive decks can't even kill this because they've removed flood decks like aggro spiders from the game, and we're left with like a slower version of who endure, which really just doesn't get it done a lot of time. Next up, Ezreal at burst speed is obscenely broken, and the main culprit of this deck being absolutely dumb is the fact that burst speed spells are just so insane with him, so uninteractive, so unfun to play against, and lead to so many games where, you play for 15 minutes and they end with, a very sour feeling where it feels like you could have done nothing. And my main complaint about the deck. Next up, too many tech options, which is fine. I think that a lot of factions really should have more tech options. But, this being a deck comprised of mainly spells that are very interchangeable leads to it having a lot of tech options. And it's one of the reasons why Ionia, P, and Z is the 2 regions with the 2 best decks in the game, being Vimer and Ezreal Karma. You could choose whichever one you want to be number 1, but I do feel like they're very, very close, and they're definitely the 2 best decks in the game, I could say with 100% confidence, and it's for a very, very important reason. The amount of cards that they get to play that are just very, very powerful, that overlap for the most part, are just really insane. So think about stuff like Thermo, Mystic Shots are very, very good, Denies are broken, Will of Ionia being a huge one, Static Shock, Deep Meditation is a massive one, absolutely massive. And the fact that you can interchange these cards as 2-ofs, 3-ofs, 1-ofs all the time, and even throw in cards like, say, Yone, for example, as a great anti-aggro tech, or anti-mid-range tech, I guess. Claw of the Dragon is a good example of an anti-aggro tech that you can have in this deck. But compared to a lot of other decks like Darrowing, for example, you almost have absolutely no room for a tech. And that's, a deck that is kind of mono, so it's not the best option. Let's maybe say like, Freljord Elusives. Another deck where you have a few options for tech cards, but not as many as, a deck like this does. And you can say that's primarily because it's comprised of spells, but that's kind of the issue, is that you can just comprise this deck primarily of spells and have it work so well because of Ezreal's passive effect, which we'll get to a little bit later. So I think that's the problem, and I think other decks should have more tech options, and it's not like the entire reason this deck's broken, but it's one of the reasons why it is one of the best decks in the game. Next up, it also has too much draw, especially at burst speed, which is like the main issue here. Look at like Rummage and Deep Meditation. Even if you're low on cards, which you will be a lot of time if you just play these on turn 10, you don't even need a Karma to necessarily win the game with you with Ezreal. You just need a Karma to draw you 4 cards with Deep Meditation or Rummage later on in the game. And that's what ends up happening and kind of can lead to victories. I find a ton of the time when we're playing this deck, obviously I only played 4 games. We went 4-0, but that happened for us where it was just like these cards are just ridiculous. Absolutely just dumb. You also have Static Shock as a card that scales a quarter of your Ezreal and draws a card, and also Shadow Assassin, which is, one of the cards that I feel like people should look at more as something that's a little bit, unbalanced, because it's kind of an auto include, and I don't think cards like that are that healthy. I feel like this is one that definitely will get nerfed in the future, if not very, very soon. So I think she's a little bit too strong as a 3-mana 2/2 withdraw when she's summoned with the elusive tag. She's included in basically every Ionia deck, even say like Hecarim ones, right? She's just good against elusive decks, so she's very solid for the draw. Comparable to something like Azure Drake from Hearthstone, which, eventually was, admitted as a mistake and rotated to the Hall of Fame for them. So out of their standard format. A little bit different for this game, but I do think she is potentially a point that we can talk about as far as balance goes. Anyways, we talked about the problems. So how do we fix it? I guess number one, we can talk about the champions. So we'll start with the easier one, Karma. She's already been nerfed, so she's not as big of a problem, but her effect, obviously, as a passive, when you play a spell casted again on the same targets, is kind of a design constraint. I do think that's the biggest issue with her. She just limits design space, makes it so a lot of cards just can't see the light of day. So I would love to see her reworked. She's also very unfun to lose to. That being said, I do love Spooky Karma. Don't get me wrong, cool deck, and it's fun to play. Really, really cool to get the 4 random spells with Karma's Insight of Ages, continually resummon her. But I do think she needs to be made into something else, and I would not be surprised to see that in the near future. That she just gets a complete rework, one of those champions that just gets remade from the ground up. Probably should be relatively similar, but I do think that this effect will not stay for Runeterra's entire lifetime, and it will be changed at some point. I think at 6 mana though, she is relatively fine right now. At 5 mana, this is like cool. At 5 mana, this deck would by far be the best deck in the game. Don't get me wrong, because you could play another Karma after she's willed or removed, and that would just be too bonkers. So the nerf definitely brought this deck down a little bit, but still to a point where it's very, very obscenely strong right now. So I do think that this is a card that is an issue, but not one of the ones that is, kind of making the deck broken by itself. I think there's a couple cards that are a little bit more clearly powerful and clearly, leading to the frustrations that people have with this list. Specifically this guy, Ezreal, pre-level up, he's not really anything to worry about, right? He's cool, he's fine. 3 mana 1/3 elusive, Nexus Strike out of Mystic Shot to your hand, and when you've targeted 8 times, he levels up. Which is quite easy to do, by the way, especially with Static Shocks in the deck. Then you get to the level up. He's a 3 mana 2/4, same Nexus Strike, but he has a passive effect when you cast a spell, deal 2 damage to enemy Nexus. This is where this card becomes an issue. So what can we do to fix this? You can make his passive effect a skill. So basically where we got at with our discussion about this, we talked about Ezreal Karma for about an hour yesterday before you even started playing games. All of the balance issues with this, and this is basically a streamlined version of the discussion from yesterday. I got a lot of input from people who love playing this deck. Even Glop, the guy who got the deck list from, we talked to about this. He kind of, agrees with the kind of my change here where we change this effect to a skill, because it does not kill the deck, but it does allow you to have more answers to Ezreal, where you can just kind of react to this card. You can potentially beat him. It does make him a lot weaker, but that's fine, man. I mean, it brings it in line with balance, because right now this deck is just not balanced. It feels terrible to play against. It's akin to like Quest Rogue from Hearthstone, if you guys remember that, where maybe you haven't played Hearthstone, so I'll explain it. So Quest Rogue is a deck that basically you would have a quest, so you'd bounce 4 minions, so play the minion with the same name 4 times, and then you would get this crazy effect where all of your units are 4/4s, and you just play a bunch of 0 and 1 drops and overwhelm your opponent, go face and win. Which led to very similar kind of games like Ezreal Karma does right now, where your opponent has to go very wide and kill you quickly, or you just lose eventually to the combo and you basically have no counterplay, which is effectively the same situation we're in, a little bit different though, being that there's effectively no counterplay to this deck other than going wide and killing them. You can't go tall and kill them because they have Will of Ionia, Thermos, that kind of stuff. It's concussive palms, so that doesn't work. You have to play multiple units, get damage in, and kind of beat them by going wide. Doesn't work that often still, because there's cards like Eye of the Dragon and a lot of individual removal tools that are a little bit strong, like concussive, Will again, gotcha when it's drawn, Mystic, Thermo, etc., etc. So it is very difficult to do that, but that's effectively the way you have to win against this deck. And I think by making Ezreal's effect a skill, it'll slow down the time you kill your opponent and make this deck a lot less frustrating to play against. So, if you're playing faster decks, you can like develop or react to the Ezreal instead of having an Ezreal just kill you with a bunch of burst spells like Mushroom Clouds, Rummages, Deep Meditations later on in the game, where you literally have no response to it. So I think if they make it a skill similar to like Twisted Fate, that would be a lot more engaging. The effect is added to the stack, so you can, react to it as the opponent. And I think it would make it more interesting to play this deck, so it's not as straightforward as just survive until turn 10. Play an Ezreal plus Karma, or just an Ezreal by itself and just like kill your opponent one turn. Because right now that's effectively it. I don't think it's that difficult to play. Because, I mean, all you're really trying to do is survive to late game and have some cards in your hand to win with. That's effectively the deck right now. So I think that if that change was made, it would make this archetype a lot less frustrating to play against and a lot more fun overall for both players in the game. We can talk about other cards that enable this deck that I think should be potentially looked at. Wool of Ionia is one that, if you've watched my content, is no surprise that I think should be nerfed, right? This card is 4 mana, is just... It is so dumb, dude. I have nothing to say, dude. This card at 4 should be just... Oh, it should be slow at 4 mana, man. I feel like what they'll do with this is it definitely will get nerfed in the next couple weeks. I feel like the next balance patch, this card will be 5 mana at least. I'm almost hoping it'll be 6. I feel like 5 mana fast is what they'll do. They could do 4 mana slow, 6 mana fast, though. 5 mana fast is my prediction. That's what I think will happen. Deep Meditation to 6. I feel like this card will never be nerfed just because it already was nerfed. I don't think they're going to nerf it again. But, you know, burst speed draw is just absolutely so ridiculous with this card. With an, you know, kind of a way to activate it is so easy when you're utilizing these two regions in general, just P and Z and Ionia. And it's one of the reasons why the two best decks in the game are Ionia and P and Z, is just Deep Meditations. The card draw is absolutely ridiculous, and it's one thing that a lot of regions don't have access to in this game, is just consistent draw that isn't backbreaking to have access to. And in this case, Deep Meditations is probably the best card that says draw on it in the entire game. Next up, we have probably the second best card that says draw on it in the game, Shadow Assassin, which, again, we talked about a little bit before. I think this card should be either 4 mana or 2/1. That's about it with this. I think it's way too strong where it's at right now, and I'm not like the biggest fan of auto-include cards. You know, there's already a couple in this game, Shadow Assassin being one, cards like Thermogenic Beam, Will of Ionia being a couple other ones you just basically include if you're playing the regions without too much of a thought. And, well, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I think they're okay. It's just that, you know, I think they should be brought kind of in line. Thermo, I feel like, is a fine one myself. It's a slow spell. It's one that's, you know, isn't too powerful. It's just very flexible. But Shadow Assassin, I feel like, is just too good at too many things in a similar fashion to Will of Ionia, for example. So I think that those are some potential balance changes for this deck. Ones that would bring it more in line and, you know, also bring like Vimer in line, for example, with the Heimer rework they're going to see pretty soon, is, you know, a Will of Ionia nerf to 5 and, you know, the Ezreal nerf. Those are the two big ones that I think need to happen. And I think that would make this deck a lot less frustrating to play into and lead to games where you feel like you have interaction, a chance to play. And, you know, not just the feeling that you spend 15 minutes of your life trying to just jam your hand on the board, try to go as wide as possible, try to kill your opponent, when really it's just futile. You could potentially also look at like Eye of the Dragon as a, you know, a potential card that's a problem, because it is one of the cards that allows your opponents to I guess have to go wide. Dragonlings are very, very powerful, very easy to activate in this deck, and one of the reasons why this deck does so well is because of Eye of the Dragon. So, you know, maybe we'll see the Attune removed as like a slight nerf to Ionia. It's hard to say, though, because, I mean, Ionia is a region without P and Z isn't actually that broken outside of Elusive, so it's hard to say whether or not this will be changed, but I feel like the Ezreal and Will of Ionia are two big ones that are going to have to be done, I think, for the health of the game myself, because there just are way too many non-games, and, you know, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this individually. I did discuss this with my chat for quite a while. Again, we spent about an hour doing that yesterday. Spent like about an hour playing and then another 30 or 40 minutes afterwards discussing more. So, you know, I had a lot of fun doing this. This is a very different video than what I normally do, because I'm kind of talking about something that I don't like, playing it, and then, you know, just going through it and the deck for my first time. I did the same thing with Vimer a while ago. Played that deck a lot more, though. We went 18-5 with that. This one we just went 4-0 with. Got the 4 games in quick, and I was like, you know, I don't really feel like playing anymore. I got my, you know, I got my solid metagame matchups in, but feel pretty solid, you know, feeling of how this deck works. And, you know, I think I was right. Initially, I wanted to play it, see how well we would do. I was like, is this going to be as easy as I think it is? We'll see. Again, I only played 4 games, so it's kind of tough to tell if I continue, you know, having that kind of a win rate, which I definitely wouldn't over a very, very long period. 100% win rate, it's impossible to keep up, you know, over 20 or 30 games for the most part. But I don't think it's as tough as people think it is. I think this deck has too many tech options. I think that it doesn't really lose to anything other than Flood aggro, which there isn't really anything of. I think Ezreal with burst speed spells right now is ridiculous. His effect needs to be changed to a skill. Or completely reworked. I would prefer the skill change, though. And I think that this deck has a little bit too much draw, which, you know, the tech options that draw isn't necessarily the reason why it's bonkers. But I think Ezreal plus Will of Ionia being changed would bring this deck more into line. And I'm curious exactly to hear what you guys think should be changed about this, and what you think Riot will do and what they will eventually do. Anyways, enjoy the video, guys. Again, I'm sorry about game 2 and 3. A little bit scuffed with the microphone, you know, but just a little bit of working pains while you're getting used to the new one, and I hope you guys enjoy the new sound. appreciate you guys for sticking around. Thanks for watching. Again, this is like a 15-minute intro, but I kind of it's like my third time trying to do it, talk through everything, and probably spent 2 hours of my life talking about this now, which is kind of weird. But you know, I really enjoyed doing this, talking about the issues. So you know, you have a little bit more of an idea why in every other video I'll be playing as an Ezreal Karma, and I'm just sitting here like, Will of Ionia, cool, it's turn 10, Ezreal's killed me in 1 turn. And you know, talking about frustrations with this game and explaining them, you know, is maybe a little bit better than just like not streaming and complaining. I think Ashe Sedge is actually pretty fun for sure. So against the Darius Draven. So in this matchup, Chumpwump is a unit that can block. Vasquez Glider, Eye of the Dragon is obviously good. Static Shock, what would that be good into? Like 1 drops. Otherwise, it's kind of bad. I think I mulligan the Ezreal and the Static Shock. Come on, odds. I feel like this is just not good though. I'd rather have removal. Keeping the Chump is like kind of bad because it's a 4. But the Chumpwump is actually removal itself. So it's not that bad. Precious Pet, so it's going to be turn 1 Thermo every time. Pretty easy. Just good removal, easy target. Thermo could be better later, but one of the things you should think about when playing decks like this into slower matchups is... I feel like you should really just try not to greed. That's all really. I think greeding is like one of the easiest ways for you to lose these type of games. Pass. So we have first action. I can technically just gotcha the 2-3 if we want. He only has 3 mana. I'd probably actually pass here and see what he does first. Is that a lot of times whatever he develops, he won't have enough mana to actually go ahead and use transfusion as well. And if he plays like an Iron Ballista, I'd rather gotcha that. So I'm gonna pass first, see what he does. Otherwise, I save the spell mana. Go Chumpwump plus like do the 1/1s next round. Cool. Draven. So I could gotcha the Draven or I could gotcha the Disciple. Because the Wump will trade favorably into the Disciple or make him use the Axe, I should gotcha the Draven. Obviously, don't get value with the effect here, right? So you don't get a Dragonling. That's fine. Tracker am I using? Just Runeterra tracker, LR tracker, farm or something. And there's a command in chat. Oscar's ready, sure. So I could will that if we want. I feel like I just play the Chumpwump, take 3 damage, yeah. Feels to me to be about right. I'd save 3 health if I block the Disciple, but I take 2, so it's not even true. The value trade's bad. I could value trade this and then... No, that's not really worth. Transfusion's like the only thing I'm really thinking about, I guess, because this would then be a 2-2. He'd do 2 damage with this, 2 more with this, and then this would be an 8-6, and that would value trade the Wump. That I don't think I've... Actually, sorry, he has no spell man. I'm stupid. Ignore me. I'm dumb. Very, very dumb. Very, very dumb. Important to admit that sometimes. I think that's all I'm doing here. I would have the Dragonlings for next round, but I'll have them for the round after. Obviously, with Eye of the Dragon plus Double Cloud, we're looking relatively good here, I'd say. Essay as well. I don't think we're going to play the Essay down. I might just like not attack into this as well. I think I start with this though. The card draw is nice. I think getting the meditation for 3 is good.
No one's the wiser.
I don't like the Static Shock here. Pass and see what else he plays, I think. This is like where it gets kind of mind gamey because I could have just done these here and get the 2-1s for sure next round. But I'd like to see what else he plays first. Which I mean could be wrong. Like my logic is maybe I get a good static. It's not that likely. Like it's more likely that I'm going to get more value just playing the clouds now. Just because I get the 2-1s out. So this play could be wrong. And I almost do feel like it is, to be honest. Okay, so we see the Rider now. So we know what his play is going to be for next round for sure. I don't want to will right now. I just get the 2-1s, I think. To play 2 clouds. And save 2 spell mana. So I can will this if we need to next round, which we probably will have to do. Likely going to be part of the play. So we have 8 mana overall. We spend 4 on the will, and we have 3 for meditation, which will also net us 2 more spells. Pretty big. Darius, okay. So if we will the Darius, it's not the best look in the entire world. I probably have to sacrifice an Eye of the Dragon to block this, save 3 health. Let's start with meditation. So I can technically remove the Darius right now. Not the look though, just will make him replay it, I think. Do I lose this? I can hover the 1-3 for sure. Really, really strong card. The Dragonling's a 2-1 ephemeral unit with lifesteal. So we don't have the best trades here. He's not attacking with the 2-1. That's really interesting. I go to 10 here and I get in theory, a good static shock. In practice, we'll see, but in theory, this is going to be a good static shock. That being said, stuff like transfusion is going to ruin that idea. So I think this is what we're going to do just so I get the value from the healing. And I mean, at this point in the game, obviously we're a little bit strapped just because, I mean, he's going to have the Darius leveled once he replays it. So that's not the best for us. I probably will just open attack here, I think. Likely just an open attack so I can heal so the Darius won't be leveled instantaneously. He likely will not block this, which is fine. So I just heal so the Darius isn't flipped. So he has 5 health instead of 6.
Oh, I can't wait.
Disciples, so let's just transfusion stuff. I can play the meditation again. We do want to have this effect go off yet again, so we should look for that. I don't think it's developing the SA. Concussive Palm's really good. Static Shock's decent. So I can now play Static Shock if we want. Go on the 2-1, the 2-1. You would then play Transfusion on his 2-3. It'd be a 2-2, and then buff the 2-1 to a 2-3 again. Not ideal. I could Mystic the 6-2 instead. I guess our problem here is we don't have enough spell mana to do stuff with. Pass first. I don't know if that's really actually good, because then he could pass back. And he might not actually want to develop more. I guess if he opens, he's not utilizing Darius, so it's actually a fairly good point. And then I have more mana to work with during combat. So I could actually agree with that for sure. So I think I do agree that passing first is better, actually, yeah. Just because, like, you know, we don't get the 2-1s, but this actually isn't that scary right now. Okay, that's kind of bad for us, but okay. Not enough spell mana to you know, say that the transfusions aren't going to be an issue. So I never really get to play around it anymore, so I think that I just do the static. And see, that's going to be about as good as we're going to hope for, I guess, here. Nice, so we can see no transfusion in some cases here. Also get the Ezreal targeting. Static Shock is really big for that, obviously. Sure, that's fine. Go back to 10, so you can play Darius. Just time for him now. Saboteur Gamer, okay. So we know his whole hand now, which is nice. Nice trim, buddy. So we're gonna play the Palm here, for sure. Get a 3-2. That's gonna be our action. Then we have 5 mana left to work with, so what we can do with that is basically just get Excited Mystic usually. That'll be about what we want to do here. Obviously, that'll lead to us not playing the meditation here, which is kind of bad, but I can just do that next one anyways. And I mean, we're getting the Ezreal scaled, and he will be leveled now, which is a pretty big deal. He passes here. I guess I would just pass back, and we usually just win then. Yeah. He's not going to be able to kill me over the top with Decimates or anything, so... I pass back, then I can develop Ezreal, play a Static Shock next round, and we usually just get there, I think. I don't understand the pass here. That's really weird, but okay.
Time for a true display of skill.
So I static 2 irrelevant units to get the level up. Ezreal's flipped. I guess actually I should have targeted, I guess, the Darius at least because of Fervor. They wouldn't have died, but if he has Fervor, it would work no matter what. So maybe it was like Ezreal and then the 2-1. That was actually probably a misplay, right? So transfusion there, deal damage. Yeah, so you can do that as well. Actually, my bad. So I shit the bed there. My Ezreal is not flipped, so I can say okay to that. That's fine. So I just see what I draw, I guess. Huge misplay though, to be honest. That's actually really, really bad for me. I would then... Other Rider, okay. So I would just Mystic a unit, and then I have the flip, and I cast one of the Mystics. Go face, we do 4. He's at 10. Then I have a Mystic for 4. I get excited for 5. So he's at 9. But then I can also play meditation next round and just win. So that's basically all we're going to do here. Mystic unit, Ezreal flip. I also, sorry, I get 2 damage from the flipped Ezreal as well, my bad. Wasn't factoring in him. Which is a pretty big deal because that's literally 1/10 of their entire Nexus health when you have the flipped Ezreal.
I don't miss.
Attack. And this kind of just like alludes to what I was talking about earlier, where you really don't struggle with like these kind of curve aggro decks. You would struggle with like more of a flood aggro deck that does stuff a little bit earlier. But I mean, the only real flood aggro deck being what should we call it? The good old spider deck has been kind of just gutted because, well, it got nerfed like way too many times. Every single part about it that was strong has been just like changed. And that would be like a decent answer to this deck. But in the current case that we're seeing, you know, an aggressive deck like his, in which he actually curved out pretty well for the most part, you can see that this deck, just basically because of Eye of the Dragon and cards like Will of Ionia, has very, very powerful answers to exactly what these powerful aggro decks at the moment want to do. You know, the defensive packages that you have basically just within Ionia and a little bit of P&Z kind of thrown at you as well are just busted, man, against like these kind of aggressive-y, mid-rangey type of decks. And we didn't even get to the part of the deck where he plays a Harrowing and I play Deny and just like make him, you know, waste 9 mana and cry. Which is insane. And I even messed up that game. Like I messed up with a Static Shock, right? Like I didn't think long enough about that, so I screwed up. Relatively easy game 1 though. And I think that was a good kind of showing of how powerful the deck is, right? All of your cards that can be used defensively can then just be used as offensive tools the second that you've targeted enough units. So in your aggro matchups, you just survive, and then, you know, with all the draw that you have with meditation, Static Shock, your hand still stays full, and you get to the point where Ezreal's flipped, and you just sit there and you're like, any card, any spell, boom, 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 and then they just die. So we're against Vimer. So what is important against Vimer? Probably just not dying when they do their combo stuff. So how do we not die around like turn 5? The best way to do that. Thermogenic Beam's a card. Will of Ionia is decent into like the Vi. I would want to keep cards that target because I do want to scale Ezreal. I don't think I keep Karma. Chump Pump's like a 4-drop, but I don't think it's very good. Eye of the Dragon's a 2 that I won't draw later, but also doesn't do very much. I guess the 2/1's is good, but I'm not really going to activate it for a while. I feel like this is just like a hard mull. I want cards like Static Shock, stuff like that, to answer the eventual kind of timer pop-off. Can play this for maybe 1 damage here.
We each hold a world within.
It's an interesting matchup right now.
What you looking for?
3-2 sure, so I'm just gonna have to block that with my 1-3, unfortunately. Fine though. I don't really want to give him 3 cards for no reason, so his card's gonna 2-for-1 me usually here.
Smells like opportunity.
Could will that. It's definitely not worth though. Let me just do this and then try and static it after he plays another unit, hopefully.
Ready yourself.
Okay though, this isn't like an aggro matchup, so Eye of the Dragon's not getting as much value as it normally would. And then just hit the Shadow Assassin button. Sure, cool.
I walk
The monk, okay.
alone.
Kind of annoying. That excited is okay. I have to discard cards for it though, which isn't that great at the moment. You just play Eye of the Dragon for now. The thing is with this, I guess, is it is a very good card to discard, but I think it's still a move to just play it. It's a good block. You need to block into this.
I got the goods.
With the wrong pickpocket. That's weird. I don't know why he'd show me that. So pretty massive misplay, because I mean he only has 5 other cards in hand, right? I'm just gonna pass everything. It hit like a preemptive shock, but it doesn't really feel that good. This means he won't attack for a while. This is, I guess, okay, because we don't really want to attack either, and he doesn't have spell mana for deny. So I guess the scaling is just good. Means our blocks are going to be stronger. I guess like the downside to it is I'm not getting the Dragonling, and I'm also not using these on 3-1 turrets. But I think in the context of just scaling and drawing cards, this makes sense. Because otherwise it'd be floating spell mana, and I don't want to do that if I don't have to. This will usually be attacking with those anyways.
Take from the rich, give to me.
Sure. So I could rummage now if we want. I would have deep meditation online for next rounds. And I would also be able to have a 2-1 to block his 3 with. That being said, he probably just plays Timer or Vi. This would go in. I block those two. I also feel it's early to do this. So I think I just let the monk go in and block these two so he doesn't get spells. Fine. I just don't want to lose this in my hands. Like, I mean, the Karma would be like a fine card to just lose, but I'm not really interested in it.
On the scene.
Plays Vi. Plays Will before combat him. Should be fine. Still has no spell mana as well, so I mean, he probably doesn't have a Heimer in hand. If he did, he'd be looking for that a little bit harder, I think.
It's too late for you.
Pretty straightforward turn.
Save me, Luke.
Mana. I don't really want to just slam the Ezreal. I think I just play Deep Meditation's pass here usually. That was pretty good.
Vi stands for vicious.
Small vibe. Really not very scary at all. So spell mana, he can do the Heimer stuff now.
Justice firsthand.
Okay, so he's on the 3-2. Counts the target. I guess the problem with this is he could technically just go ahead and like play spells in and buff the Vi to get damage in, but I don't think I'm that concerned with that really. I feel like that's just going to be acceptable. Alternatively, I could do it the way where I concussive this and then I get excited to 3-2 to clear it and block all damage. I don't think I'm looking at playing to get excited yet though, so I think I'm fine just doing this. Because if I play 2 spells, I have meditation for the next round, which is really good, so maybe that's actually the luck. I think I just do this. If he wants to pass here, which he actually might be okay with, then I don't have to utilize mana. Otherwise, I mean, it'll be okay. It's not great though. 5. Deny button. I can deny back. Seems good. Here's another deny now. We're going to be in a pretty bad spot, but if he doesn't, then we should be fine. Meditation 5. Buffs the Vi up. Cool. No spell mana. And back. SA, sure, and it's 3 mana deep meditation. So they start with deep meditation or SA? Sure. So turn 8, so the Karma stops almost online. Ezreal's only targeted 4. So I do definitely need to target more units here to win. Shadow Assassin is kind of nice. It trades with the monk, so you don't have to worry about that after that. And we do draw a card Natty. Also an action passes back to him, so I think we may want to do this. That being said, it's 3 of our mana, which means that if he just like jams a Heimer here, I may not be able to deal with it. So get excited, I can play that. I guess the question is, what would I discard then? I don't feel like it's Rummage because we almost have Karma plus Rummage, which is insane. If 7 mana. I could even like get excited at will here if we want. Discard Mystic Shot maybe? Mystic Shot or Deny? Feels like it's the Deny. Mystic Shot's kind of like useless though, because I do just win anyways. I think probably Mystic. The only way that he gets more health is like the +3 health card, and then Mystic won't help me anyways then. I think I just do this. If he busts the health of this, I don't think I'm going to clear it. I think I'm just going to will the Vi in, so that's a day. Okay, so he probably gets 2 turrets, plays the health buff card here. That'll likely be his option. Takes that back and geeking. Sure, we say okay, he has no mana. I mean, I could deny it. It's a pretty bad deny though, and I'd rather just target anyways, so. Go Will of Ionia into the Vi, I think. I mean, I could technically play Meditations too, then Will next rounds. In combat. We can't replay it and do stuff. Denying ever better here? I deny I have a 3-2 to block with. I'm kind of like relatively low here. Maybe it's actually stronger. I think it's probably okay. The only problem is like I'm looking at kind of a situation that we're in, sorry, where you know, he's like in a pressure side of the game, right? Again, we're a deck that will outscale him. We will do better later on into the game, so it is a little bit scary that you know, he's going to be able to do that. So I think like creating this 3 when he's looking to just pressure us out is decent. Round 9. So I have to commit 7 mana here for sure. We know that. He gets 3 in. Do this. That's okay. See if he does anything else. I do almost just want to Mystic this, but I feel like it's just not good enough. So just say okay. I take the 3 if we need to. Otherwise, just save the Mystic for damage potentially. Nice.
You've done it this time.
Who's saving the thing for health here? If I play this, I only have the 2 mana anyway, so I should play a Mystic first instead of Demeditation here. I'm pretty sure he's going to play Twin Disciplines here, but I still think that I do this. Okay, that's probably game now. Unfortunate outcome for him for sure. So 7 out of 8 on the Ezreal. I play Meditation here, so I get the draw. I actually played enough spells last turn, right? Or this turn, sorry. I played 2, so I technically don't need to. I can do it with Karma next round, it's better. We should pass on. Pass. So our Karma's leveled now. So play the Karma, and again, this is one of the problems of the deck, and why like this deck just works, why these 2 champions are so broken. These burst spells are super imbalanced with this. You play the Karma, he'll do whatever he wants to try and remove her, right? But it doesn't really matter because I just get all the card draw in the world, and I just have no real issues here at all. Plays removal spell. He plays Will. That's fine. I do deep meditations. I draw a bunch of cards. Look at this. Woohoo. Palm Thermo. Shock. Gotcha. Cool. And then I can just go Rummage and then discard 2, and then I draw 4. Do I actually want to do that? My hand is 7. I have 7 cards right now. A lot. I just want to pass after that then. Take the 3. Gotcha is really good being 2 mana for Heimer as well. Fine. Okay. So Ezreal is 7 out of 8, I believe. A little bit buggy because here it says 6 out of 8. But this one says 7, so I'm going to stick with the 7 here. So I can Gotcha and then Thermo to clear Divide technically, if we want. Not the best combo in the world. I can also just Gotcha here if we want. Or even pass. I feel like playing the spell's better though. If I just... So say that we do this, right? You play Ezreal, we have 1 spell mana. I can Thermo. Do we ever have lethal next round? He can open attack with Vi. I can stun the Vi during combat. 15. I don't think without Karma we'll win now. You're right. It wouldn't clear. It would not clear. It would do 2 then 1. I don't think I'm going to rush for anything. I think that I'll probably just wait here. Pass. There we go. 8 cards. Work up. Shadow Assassin, sure. So I can match with the Shadow Assassin then. Draw another card. Could also just Gotcha the Shadow Assassin. Clear it. I feel like I almost like the Gotcha play more. Card's kind of just bad after this round. I think it's cool. That's the flip. So it's big when we play him. He's leveled. Obviously we just play burst spells anyways though. Tempump's really good. So he kind of has this round to kill us, otherwise he's boned. That's where I'm at with this team right now. Hit the clouds. Yeah, this is the attack. That's fine. It's okay. Sure. So with 6 mana, he can Thermo, or he can, I mean, he can Thermo Will. Get excited stuff. So, I mean, it's not like our cards are protected because I've used my denies, basically, is the situation that we're in right now. So if I play an Ezreal, it's not safe. I don't have ways to protect it. I don't have ways to win right away. I can play Karma and bait removal. Karma's not as important to have these removal spells up with. I could also just play Shadow Assassin and take it safe. How many cards are we at? We're at 5. We're at 9, right? 5, 3, 6, 9. Yeah, we're at 9. So I can play Shadow Assassin. We're fine. Other Karma, okay. Good to know. Mystic, okay. So let's do... For 4 mana, he hasn't played a Thermo yet. He can still Thermo the Ezreal, so that's fine. Just gonna say okay to that. Was looking to get chip damage in with those. Really not trying to do too much, I don't think. So that's okay. If he kills the Ezreal, we're not killing him. So I want to pass here, I think. And this is like a lot of what these type of matchups are, where you just like, you have everything, but you're just looking for like an opportunity to do something. And this is like one of the big reasons why the Karma nerf to 6 mattered, because you can't just play two of them in the same rounds. That's kind of a big deal. But what I can do is play a Karma. He clears his first Karma. I play Concussive Palm on the 6-2 and get 2 3-2s that'll do a lot of damage. And that's likely what we're going to do here.
Where there is life, there is hope.
He plays a Will. I go for the Concussive Bomb. This will just do chip damage, so we might not need the Karma combo to win. He answers with 1 unit or removal spells. Just means that Ezreal is less likely to happen. And this is effectively how a lot of these matchups that goes against the slower decks. I guess not necessarily even slower decks, but just like Vimer, is that, you know, if they can't kill you early, they're going to just be trying to like make it so you can't play your cards. But, you know, if we get to the point where I got to do this, it's pretty stupid and there's really not too much you can do, I don't think. Like, okay, I just do 7 damage. I mean, sure, cool. That's fine. He has 2 mana left. He can't do anything into this, so I play the Ezreal now.
I'm so good, I surprised myself.
Again, I have 3 burst spells in hand, so he's literally at 1 health. Best case scenario. And then I have Static Shock to win no matter what. So the game's over now. And this is kind of why Ezreal is just stupid and uninteractive. Because he literally cannot do anything other than have like a health potion. A burst spell that'll heal him as a tech card to win. So it's just, it creates these situations that just are not fun. And do Thermo for 2 extra damage now. Like, this part's fine. I think this is okay that I just get 2 with the Thermo for 0 mana here. That's good. Good use of the Thermogenic Beam. It's more so that these are just uncounterable. And that's why, like, I kind of was talking about the change where, you know, maybe each, you know, damage with the burst is going to be like an individual kind of feature. Because, I mean, right now, he doesn't have an answer to this, right? He can't react to this. It's just game. Because, I mean, these are just burst speed spells, right? He's just OTK'd, and there's absolutely 0 things he can do, and I didn't even need to play Karma, right? You know, I did a bait removal out, but I didn't need one to win with.
Like my name.
And again, not like the easiest deck in the game to play, obviously, because, I mean, what we're doing the whole game is talking about what we're playing around, what we're playing into, that kind of stuff. But again, it's not like it's impossible to play. It's not like players should be rewarded for being able to think ahead. You know, with some deck that like has no counterplay for most matchups, right? Other than just literally flooding the board of the game and overwhelming them like I guess kind of like an idiot. You just jam everything and just say, you're not going to have an answer to this. And that's really the counterplay of this deck. Otherwise, I mean, you get games like that. It's cool that I can win games, you know. Obviously, I'm thinking through what I'm doing, playing around cards, using my brain, playing intelligently, and you should be rewarded for that, but probably not to this extent. Behu endures, so this is going to be a matchup where I basically just want to not die. Seems pretty straightforward, right? A little bit more complicated than I'm making it out to be, though. Concussive definitely keeping this matchup. Very good into the Callista. I would say this is one of the harder matchups, probably, because this is more closely related to a Flood deck. No Eye of the Dragons kind of sucks. I didn't get a Thermo either. Maybe the Palm was actually a bad keep. Debatable. Thermo here would be the nuts. I think the Thermo on turn 2 into the Elise here would actually increase my win rate by probably 10 to 15%. It's a pretty rough estimate, but I feel like that's about accurate here. Health Potion. Just gem Ezreal, I think. Blocks 1/1s pretty well. This is a survive matchup. Eventually you get to the point where I can OTK them sometimes, but it's one where you play to survive, I believe, is my kind of mindset regarding it. I have the Graveyard enabled, but I just don't have it on stream. I also don't really look at it. Just because I felt like a lot of the add-ons kind of cluttered up the stream. So I decided to not like remove them, but just like not have them showing, I guess. That's all really. So do I target? I guess I can just target both of these. That makes the most sense. Ezreal gets targeted, he plays Vile Feast. Ezreal dies, I don't really care. Boom. Crazy. She have the health potion tech card too, so we're kind of just fine here. Deny that good? I think it's pretty useful right now. Again, like one of the, I talked about this as well. One of the reasons why these decks are so strong, you know, Vimer and Ezreal Karma, is just because of the amount of tech cards you're able to kind of use. You know, most decks don't really have the luxury that these type of lists do, where you have so many good cards at your disposal within the two regions that you play mainly, that you know you're really just not going to be reaching for value, I guess, or reaching for things you want to play. I think it's self pushing here. Good enough use of the card, I think. We're gonna have an issue with the least sometimes, I think, which definitely is a problem, but it's not gonna be the end of the world here if she levels. It might be, honestly. It's kind of a pretty big deal.
Watch and learn.
And with the attack.
Nailed it.
How is my version different than the one Mobalytics? This is just one somebody got rank 1 with like a week ago, man. I wouldn't try and convince you to do anything at all. The deck's fine, nothing's wrong with it. If you want to play the one on Mobalytics, that's fine as well. Again, no real problems with whatever Swim's telling you to play. It's probably perfectly fine. I pulled up a list from him today. That was another one we were looking at when I was talking about this deck. This is a tournament version though, one that's more anti-aggro. That's the only difference. It would be better in this matchup, right? Like this is a faster matchup. This deck will do better against slower ones. Whereas I feel like I just do this and then play like the Thermo, but it's kind of wrong, I think. I should be playing 2 spells for meditation. I think the targeting is good too. You can play Neverglade now without worrying, right? Trust me, if passing was good there, I would want to do it, but it really just isn't very good for me. You can glimpse this if you want. Definitely a good Thermo for us though. Possible to head to Masters rank using the Asso deck. Yeah, definitely good. It's actually pretty strong right now. One of the better metagames for it, I'd say. The Elise flip. Okay. I love it, dude. Love these panos from these decks. One of my favorite champions for sure. Happy to see your poppin'. For sure. I've got an 8 Bark Beast. Okay. So, I mean, if I just stun the Elise, I get this during combat to work with, which is good. My play would be like stun plus like Mystic Shot during combat then. That's the whole turn. There shouldn't be too many targets that are better to stun because this actually protects the Ezreal. You won't want to glimpse this either, so this makes sense. What way does this version excel against the other ones? I mean, this one just will do a little bit better against like what the deck's intended to do well against slow decks. Right, like Ezreal Karma is kind of like a control deck killer. Just so happens that even with a version like this, it does very well into aggressive matchups as well. So, I mean, the difference is this is a tournament deck that looks to do a little bit better against aggressive decks because during Twitch Rivals, there's a lot of people who don't actually play LOR, which kind of leads to them kind of favoring playing those faster decks. I would recommend playing this one for general laddering. Leafy Bark Beast. Okay. He's one of the 2 ones. He's 3 spell mana. At least Mystic, whatever, is challenging. That's about right.
Come this way.
7. I mean, we're close. We're not like getting enlightened though, so I mean, we're really not in like that great of a spot here. It's stuff like the Eye of the Dragon where you just get one of those and you really just carry you in these matchups. So the fact that we don't have one is quite bad. So it goes though. Beast, sure, pretty bad as well, but okay. Ain't too much. Plump is just 1 blocker. So having the Elise up is very bad. I don't know how we're going to do into that. Play Meditation. Mysticking 1 card is not going to be good here. Rummaging is not going to be good. Start with this, I guess. Remo, gotcha. Gotcha is very good. Very, very good here. Now, the only problem that I'm walking into at this line is that... okay. I can't Mystic that. It's too expensive, so just take him. He only has 6 mana now. And he no longer has Elite, so if he doesn't draw another one, we're kind of just chilling. This pass here. That's a big float from him. Massive float. I think the pass is good. He was assuming that I'd go in with Mystic there every time, I think. That's a really good pass, though, because then he can't develop like Vayhunder or something. Whereas if I attack, then he'd have spell mana to do whatever he wants here. Whereas now he doesn't. Go for the draw.
Silent as death.
All blockers are the same. He only connects with 1/1s here.
I go waste if I'm in mushrooms.
You can now kill a spider to play the Vayhunder, and I can't play the Will.
Excuse you. Obstacle, meet gauntlet. You're between me
I'm just gonna
and
say it
glory.
too. There shouldn't really be a difference other than atrocity. I need the Mystic to kill him. Probably. Can I let this die and win? Is an important question. Probably not.
I know you're thinking and stuff, but could you maybe speed things up a little?
Put a 4, I think. Other one allows to hover and get code. Tell them to sponsor me, man. I'll show their ads on stream all day if they sponsor me. But there's just too many advertisements for me to use that one without a sponsorship. And I prefer this one for individual use. That's it. Good to see you, sure. Can't cancel that, that's fine. Just like a personal choice, man. Just way too many ads on that, and I streamed it too many people want to have too many YouTube videos where I'm just like showing ads for free, basically. Get like a good service. I mean, I have no issues with the mobility. I think your stuff's dope, dude. But yeah, just not super interested in sharing ads with everybody for free.
I'm so good, I surprised myself.
Okay, so I have like a couple burst speed spells.
I don't miss.
Open with the attack, I think, given the 4 back to do stuff. So all that I'm really losing to right now is Vayhunder plus Atrocity exactly in hands. Tosses, so with that exact hand, he could do that. I think that I just play a Karma here and I don't play into it. Or I don't play around it, sorry. With the Karma, these are both 4 damage. So that's going to be 8. This is 12. It's 12 at burst speed. So 12 at burst speed, I could put him at 16 with this right now. I could put him at 14 with that, sorry. And then I'd be 2 off from burst speed lethal next. I definitely need to do this though. I just have this one round where I say that I can't play around something with 2 attack and atrocity. It's going to be the only way he can do direct damage here to me. So I'm going to develop these and just hope for the best. Play the Mystic Shot. And again, hope for the best here. He's not playing units yet, so he's just exhausting me of resources and beats me with exactly that. I mean, I've already seen 1 atrocity, so I'll take the L. But I think in most cases, this is a dub. True, endures 7 mana, man. You see, I am like, I'm conditioned to believe that it's not. I'm conditioned to believe it's 6. Because I really haven't played against this too often recently. I know it's definitely still a good deck and one that does still see quite a bit of play. Because, I mean, it is powerful. It's one that didn't get nerfed too hard or anything, but it's just one that I'm not used to, I guess. Because, I mean, I before, like, the patch on live, I haven't really been playing too much. In post-patch, I mean, this is probably, like, hour 5 or 6 of gameplay, so, I mean, it really hasn't been too intense for me. But, yeah, good game. Super imbalanced deck. Another win that, you know, was looking pretty shaky, but, I mean, I think they feel like we played the matchup right, and, I mean, we're just getting there now because of that. You can see the rummage and how dumb it is, too, where you just, you know, play 1, discard 2, and then you just draw 4. And boom, lethal out of nowhere, man. Super uninteractive. Definitely sketchy early game. And I mean, I didn't even get an Eye of the Dragon to help us either, right? We just, you know, used the cards that we had. And that's a good example of how powerful you can have of an early game, even without like the most ideal of a pana, right? It's just how powerful this deck is. Like, it's just insane.